Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Music Men in My Mental. I am DeVone, your host, and we tackle all things that are your career, relationships, and your overall health. It's going to be a little special show today. I decided to not have a guest and really just dive into why this podcast exists, a little bit about me and my actual journey and story about why I decided to really go through with this podcast. So I have my notes because, I got a story to tell. And I was, as I was actually creating, the show today, I started singing, I just gotta be me, doing what I gotta do. People think that I'm sitting on top of the world. So with my bad rendition of, Brandy's song, it's really what the podcast is actually about. It started where I was just feeling like I was on top of the world. Everyone was really getting to know who DeVone was, but on the inside, I was not feeling good. I was actually feeling like trash, a word I probably use a little too often, but anyway, so, but it all started as the podcast was actually a book. And I had this theory of this trifecta, the career, your relationships, and your overall health. And if you can tackle these three and you can actually balance these three, then you can feel some sense of purpose, some sense of like motivation, right? So I had the name, I had the title, I started the book. A little bit about me actually is I'm a DJ from New York City. Personality, it's really my passion. I started out as an event planner and I was planning events all over the world, China, London, Miami. It was something I really did like to do, but music was always my passion. So with that being said, I really, got the DJ thing going. I did events for Google, YouTube. I have done events with Kendrick Lamar, Maroon 5, Madison Square Garden. I'm just been really happy about my career, but also just proud of myself at times. But also it comes with the little trials. It comes with a little story to tell. It may come with one or two health issues, a little mental breakdown, and etc. So that's a little bit about me, and it's been a great journey on this DJ career path. But so about this podcast, let's go into that. So I decided to write my experiences. I was actually trying to leave my corporate job and it was just too busy. Literally, like I was DJing like the same amount of being full-time and I was going to a 9 to 5 full-time. Burnt out, just doing too much. It was just crazy, like for real. So I was just writing like a few pages of how to balance myself with my music, men, and my mental. And I started the book, and guess what? I never finished it. And the reason why I did not finish it is the topic of the show today. So we're gonna go into the D. Yep. I got the D, and it was the depression, and it was the D I never wanted. And that's how things really just took a little halt with why it just became a podcast, because many years ago, it started as this book. So let's go into this depression. So the first thing we really need to know about depression is it doesn't really just happen overnight. Seriously. So I had my first battle of depression and I did not know what it was. I just thought I just shed a few tears, had a little breakdown, shook it off. It'll be fine. No. Let me tell you about depression. It is like a scratch or a wound or a scab. And the thing about it is, if you do not let it heal, you do not take the proper measures to heal it, it will become a a wound. It may become a artery actually showing itself because it's just digging deeper and deeper. And sometimes we're just picking at it and we're not even noticing that, we may seem fine. We may look fine. You may actually feel like you're at a great place in your life, but you never actually handled part of the first part of the depression when it first appeared until you get to the critical parts and you're like, oh, how did I get here? Well, I can go into the first stab at it was, so I think I may or may not have spoke about this, but like it starts with, I always go into the relationships, so it's like meeting this guy who I was like madly in love with, and I move across the actual country and I'm thinking I'm going to have this life and his family, and I get across the country and I leave after 3 weeks. The relationship just was not going to work. We were with each other more than 3 weeks, of course. But when we really got together to realize what we were going to do, it just wasn't working. So we got this relationship that goes down the drain. I'm thinking I'm fine. But the reality is I left my event planning job to actually go across, the country. So even though I did really enjoy event planning, I was still trying to DJ as well. And I was really just trying to get that up and running and balance those two and have this relationship. So the relationship fails. We got there. I go to, I'll just say where it was. I went to Phoenix and I had no job. Okay, right? Smart decision. I do not recommend that. So I have no job, and I'm thinking I'm a little sad, but I'm just maybe thinking I'm heartbroken. And then we add a close friend of mine actually passes way before 30, and she's one of the most healthy, fit, people I've ever met. And so slowly but surely, I'm having what now I know is a mental breakdown. And it just spiraled into something that was just, the feeling was new. I just didn't know if I was coming or going. And I would say that was my first real battle of, depression. But I didn't think about it. I got through it. I thought I got through it. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when that first battle of depression comes around, you need to deal with it. You need to deal with it strong. You need to get don't try to, sometimes we do the herbal, holistic, like take some vitamin C for a cold. No, you have to tackle it. And I did not tackle it. And then thought I was fine. Things started looking up. And then the real depression actually kicked in. And we're going to go into that. So this is the next chapter. And life gets better, as I said. And the DJ thing really started looking up. And I'm so happy. My career is booming. I'm a full-time DJ. Yeah. I left my event planning corporate job. It just got too busy. And at first it was really sad, but I realized I can do this. I can do this DJ thing. I just got to stay focused and take care of me. I'm popping. I actually used to say that a little too much. Like, I'm DeVone. I'm popping. I can do anything I want. Okay. Yeah. You need to really look into that a little bit more, because as I'm thinking I'm doing well, I'm not paying attention to a little instant gratification. I actually started really finding gratification in things that did not benefit me, did not actually help me with my growth, and just were probably more distractions to feel this sense of happiness and feeling like I had some balance. But since I never battled, I never really took care of the depression in the first place. It just actually, what we realize is all the things that we never took care of, they will appear again. And the insecurities, all that stuff will go into it. So I'm thinking I'm fine. And I'm actually not really understanding myself. I'm searching high and low for this purpose, but I think I'm fine, but I'm really not. I start dating like the worst men possible. No tea, no shade, just like the worst men possible. And I'm thinking I'm having a healthy lifestyle, but I'm drinking socially. And socially was like all the time and every day. And I think I got it going on. Life is great. Life is grand. But, the real depression actually comes with, a series of events. So we break it down and we'll go into, just the career, the relationships, and the overall health part of it. So I'm feeling good about myself. I'm totally unaware of the unhandled business and the insecurities that I'm dealing with, right? So I'm popping. I'm trying to be the top female DJ, but the reality is I wasn't doing any of the work I needed. So let's go into the career. So this is when the real depression actually just, came in. With my career, the gigs started to fade. And when I say fade, I was still working, but my biggest client that really was something that, I was really proud of, they started using other DJs. It happened, right? But it's all part of life. We have seasons, our ups and downs. And also, we all know if you're a DJ, when the winter comes, oh my, you are scared, because when there's that period where this, January, when there are less gigs, yeah. You are looking like this is a struggle. But the reality is, we're going to have seasons with your career, but was I really prepared for the ups and downs? I started having this, the money will come mentality. And I was living off of credit cards. And when I tell you, I don't even know why they gave me so much credit. Because I would just pay the minimum, but I just kept getting more and more credit cards. And I would just living, just off my credit cards. The party just kept going. I still was having a great time. I was social. I was going to gigs and I would just overspend at my gigs. Even when I was getting paid, I would just buy my own drinks and buy everybody else drinks and just doing all I can. Just not really handling the things in my career. Why was I not prepared for the season of when the money was not coming in? Why was I not preparing to actually be the top DJ instead of talking about being one of New York City's top DJs? You know what I mean? We'll go into the overall, I would say my action points. Like I love in Isaiah when he was on the show and he had his points of power. But we're going to the things I identified of how to actually get through it. But we go through that in my career, the credit card career spending DJ, right? So in relationships, oh, you know what? We probably should go to that last because I'm going to go. That really is, I'm going to go into it and I don't really care. It's my story and I can tell it the way I want to. But with health, actually, I was pretty much in shape. I was going to Soul Cycle all the time. I didn't really get into yoga yet. Now I'm really big into yoga. But I found out that I had some polyps and I had PCOS. Now, it's not the most critical thing to be diagnosed with, but it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. It has a lot of just hormonal imbalances, having no periods here and there. And I just thought maybe I was just lucky. Maybe I was just fortunate to not have periods, but I wasn't actually looking into my health. What is going on? Is this a problem? Why was I not doing that? So we got the credit card career going on. We got the PCOS. And then my grandmother dies. The matriarch of my whole entire family. And this is part of, I have the PCOS and also some other issues dealing with, being a woman, fibroids. And we have the most important person in your life passing. I feel like when it comes to true depression, it usually is heartbreak, The loss of an actual like physical person as well as heartbreak, maybe relationship. And, most of the time it's career, finances attached to it. But that's a side topic. Let's just go into, now we got this health going on with the career. Oh, relationships. Yeah. So the thing about relationships is you got to really know who you are, right? Because since we didn't deal with the depression in the first time around and we think that we are fine, we didn't really understand the insecurities and learning yourself. I got to this point where, as I was saying, I was popping. It was because I had this false happiness where I felt so ready. I was so ready to be married. I was so ready to be in love and be an entrepreneur and DJ and be all over the world. But did I really know who I was? I didn't. I actually didn't. And I was just like, you know what? I'm ready to settle down and I'm just going to give myself like 30 days, something crazy. I don't even know what the number was, but I'm ready to settle down. Whoever I, come around and I like them and they like me, I'm going to go for the feeling. I want to feel good. I want to feel in love, right? About that. So we're going to go into your intuition with being in love. So you got to know who you are. You got to really understand intuition and also feelings and reality. Because, so I meet a guy, I'll go into the story. Actually, I'll just dive into it. It is what it is. And I meet him out and about in the Brooklyn streets. And I actually thought he was somebody else. And he's talking to me and I'm just like, oh, shoot. You are not this person. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I thought you were XYZ. And he's like, no, finish the conversation. I'm like, no. So then he starts talking again and I just say no. And he's like, why? I'm like, I don't even know why I said no. He said, what's your name? I said, no. And I just kept saying, every time he said anything, I just kept saying no. And when I say, it was like my brain and my mouth they just were not connected. It was like, how you doing? No. You want a drink? No. No. And it was like I was a robot. And it just came out of nowhere. But maybe it was like the higher power. Maybe it was my intuition just saying, nah, walk away from this person. So eventually, long story. Now, actually, we're going to keep the long story. We get into a relationship because I make a mistake and call him by accident. He's like, give me your, here, take your phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I already said no. But not because I didn't find him attractive or I didn't like him. My spirit just kept saying, no, 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 no. So I'm like, oh, take my number. I'm not ever, you know what? I'm not going to call this guy, whatever. And I butt dial him. And I'm like, holy cow. So I text him like, you know what? Guess you got my phone number. Now, probably shouldn't have done that. Should have just kept that no going, but doesn't matter. Anyway, so, we go on dates and, I like him. He likes me. He seems like he's ready for a relationship. I'm so ready, AKA probably so thirsty to be in this so-called relationship part of my life that, it seems like it's going really great. But the reality is, we're going back to, I haven't found out who I was and I haven't dealt with the insecurities of the past and the first round of depression. So everything's going great. And then the intuition story comes in right here. And he's making me dinner and it's just fabulous. I'm like, this guy he's just great. Thank you, God. I'm so happy that I said I was ready for a relationship and I got one. How cool is this, right? So we're sitting down, have a great dinner. Everything's fine. I'm over his house and, I'm trying to take my time with everything. And I'm just on the phone and I'm just boasting about how amazing this guy is in the other room. And when you guys are on the phone, right? and you're just like staring at something and you're like, yeah, girl. And and I'm just looking and I'm like, hold on, girl. I think it's a bunch of condoms on the floor. And she's like, what? I'm like, I haven't had sex with him yet. It's just like a bunch, like a rack of condoms on the floor in this particular this area. So he cleans up all around the house, but I guess he forgot his little sex area. I do not know. So I'm tripping because I'm thinking this is like somebody's playing a prank on me. And I leave and I like send him a photo like, nah, I'm not good on this. Like my spirit was like, run. And I text him. I'm like, I'm not really good at this, but I just got to walk away from this. I don't feel good. That I know that you were having sex before me. Things seem really good, but something about that was like either the attention to detail, either the fact that it was gross, the cleanliness, like the fact that like just everything that I was like, what the entire fuck is going on here, right? So he's like, nah, you know, we got this. You see this feeling? You see this feeling? I feel good. You feel good. So you know what? We should keep this together. You know what? Are we ever going to find this feeling again? And I'm like, maybe he's right. Maybe I should just overlook this, right? Y'all already know the answer to that, right? Stupid. But we live and we learn. So I get into this relationship and things were amazing. We were going on trips and, we were going on trips and it was just really nice. And then he started seeing my entrepreneur lifestyle and was like, I think I want to start working from home and I want to start doing things a little differently. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. How you gonna do that though? Like I DJ, you do something else. I don't know if your job is gonna like that. And eventually his job is like, the way you rolling up in here is like, you're the boss and, it's all good. Your contract's over. So fine. This goes into him not working. And, I'm okay with, you going through a patch or a struggle. That's perfectly fine. Like we're going to go through some struggles. And now I'm signed up to be his girlfriend. And there's just a myriad of things that are going wrong. The condom things led to just total other uncleanliness shit that we can go into. But, I think it's wrong to talk about someone like that. But I don't give a fuck, right? Just all right, let me stop. But it goes into just a matter of just feeling super insecure. Like just always felt like he was cheating because he probably was, or just think about it. He probably wasn't cheating, but he probably was always about to get caught because sometimes people are just not really good at it, or your intuition. See, my intuition runs very strong. It just didn't work on some of the things that it probably needed to. But in hindsight, it actually, he was going to cheat, which was another story. And something in my spirit before it happened was like, you should show up to his house. Not on some crazy like stalker stuff. It was more like, he said he wasn't feeling good. And I was like, you know what? My spirit says, let me just make sure you're okay. And I'm texting him like, you know what? Let me just make sure you're okay. I just don't feel good. Like you're not answering. And if you're sick, I just want to make sure you're all right. I'm on my way. I know you're not answering because you're probably asleep or your phone's dead, whatever. I found out eventually, the story came out that like some girl was there and he basically like, it was about to go down or something. And the reality is I had literally missed her by like an inch. Wouldn't even have known until he told me the story because I would just tell him about my intuition. Anyway, so the whole thing with that, it was me paying for shit for a long amount of time. It was the condoms story. It was the cheating. It was me trying to hold on to this relationship. Was it just because of love? Or it was because I was dealing with my insecurities, so ready for love, so ready for a relationship, but didn't actually do the right work in order to be in a relationship that was going to work for me, that was going to actually build me and make me feel good about myself, right? And make him feel good about himself and be an actual beneficial relationship. So now we got this relationship that goes to, it was just an emotional roller coaster of many things. And remember, so let's go into the career, right? Got the career and I'm already working less, spending my credit cards. Now we got a guy who ain't working, but I'm trying to actually make him feel still good about himself. Probably not the best thing to do is like paying for things. I'm paying for stuff because let us keep going out. Let us be social. Let us, get the party going. Let's keep drinking. Party over here. We're having a good time. Now we add on dealing with the PCOS. Then final straw, my grandmother dies. We add those together. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, depression really shows itself. And it was a series of mental breakdowns, a series of not being able to function, not being able to eat, not being able to even make it to a spin class. And it was so critical that when I actually decided to get the help and to really find a therapist and to really start journaling and find out what was wrong with me, I realized that the issues were there for so long, but just not handled. So, what are we not handling? Life's going to have obstacles. Life's going to have all type of distractions, but we need to handle it. And it's funny because someone said something to me and I used to say, I'm popping, I'm the macaroni with the cheese. But what if the cheese is Swiss cheese? What if the cheese is Swiss cheese and you got a bunch of holes in it, So everything you do is just pouring back out because you can't even absorb things, So my career tips would be prepare for your best and your worst. Things are going to be really good at times in your career or your job, but prepare for the worst, prepare for the best. Always prepare to put your best foot forward. Even if you hate that job, smile, act like you are, but prepare to leave and exit because I'm telling you, it is the best thing to do because at the end of my, corporate event planning, when I was not working just for myself, because I do events still, but when I was at a job, I just was miserable. I was tired. You saw me, you saw it through my face. Show up your best and for the worst, Don't get comfortable. That can just narrow, that's the career advice right there. No matter if you're on top, you have to always be a student. Always be a student to your craft. Always keep growing. That's something. Do not get comfortable. And third point is your finances. You have to save. You have to prepare. You have to learn to say no to some things, even when things are good. Say, you know what? For me, it's an influx of income. I'm fortunate where it can be really good, but I save away maybe 3 months rent now, opposed to just living my life off of credit cards, So those are the three things. Prepare, don't get comfortable, and just really handle your finances. So that's the career tips. Let's go to relationships. You have to know yourself. Just get to learn yourself, what you like, what you don't like. Also, your intuition, the feeling and what's irrational and what's actually a fact. What is the fact about you? And what, there's people who are everything just makes them miserable, right? But then there's real intuition. Why did my spirit tell me to come here? Why did I do this? Why am I doing this? Pay attention to it. The third thing I just said is write down all the things you want and write it down with the feeling and what you want. Because, for instance, an example, right? So I was talking about, actually to Tanisha from the DRL podcast, shout out to her. I was talking about a guy I liked and I was super geeked out about and his job and how he was just so into his career. And I just was so, motivated by how motivated he was in his career and his job. And she was like, well, how do you feel, when you're around him? How does that make you feel? And I was like, feelings can be irrational. Feelings can be irrational. And she's like, but how do you feel with him? And I was like, well, sometimes he does this. Well, that's not enough. Do you guys feel good together? The job, that's the tangible things. Cause now I got so stuck on the fact that I can't be dating no broke dude. Can't be dating no guy without a job, that I forgot the actual, feelings attached to the things you want and the things you need. Write that out. Wants, needs, feelings. If he doesn't have a job, but he's actually really good with money when he does, get a job, is that okay with you? Does he make you feel good? Does maybe he cook you, will he cook you dinner? When there is no money to take you out? Think about those things. Write it out so you can look at it and be comfortable with the things you want and need in relationships. With your health, the main thing is to deal with it. We can go to the gym. We can get a therapist. Deal with your health issues. With the PCOS, I still struggle with it. I still have more work to do. I have to go to other doctors, but you have to deal with it. You cannot just let it go past you and just say, oh yeah, I've been dealing with this little fiber issue, been dealing with this PCOS, dealing with these migraines. No, you got to deal with it. You got to do the research. You have to ask your doctors, talk to your friends, because most of the times you are not the only one dealing with this particular issue or topic. And some people have like great holistic approaches to things, or great doctors, or even ways that you may or may not need health insurance, or ways around health insurance, So, that's the three points, and they deal with the three things: your career, your relationships, and your overall health. So that's a little bit of my story. And I tried to sum it up, and the reality is I got a therapist, and I'm really into yoga right now. I'm, in this entrepreneur world where it has its ups and downs, but I'm being a little bit more proactive about being an entrepreneur and thinking about different revenue streams in order to maintain the lifestyle that I need or want. And with relationships, I'm just trying to take my time. I'm not just going off of, I want a relationship now, I'm going to do it. Or it feels good. The Sagittarius in me, I'm telling you, it just wants to feel good right away. I love you. I'm great. Here's my heart. Here's my artery. Here's everything. No. Now, I love that. I want to feel that, but take your time. It's okay. If you're looking for some long lasting and maybe, a little length to your relationship, just take your time and on your time, and also, your higher power, believe in something, have some faith. But that's part of my story. And I'm just so happy to have this podcast and to have you listen to the sound of my voice. And I will speak to you soon. We're going to wrap up the podcast. So thank you for tuning in to Music Men in My Mental. I'm DeVone. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Music Men in My Mental, and YouTube, because we have the full videos here. And you can email us at musicmeninmymental@gmail.com. And I'm just honored to be your host. And I hope that we can balance this life out. And thank you for listening to my story. And thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you next time.